2018 for me seems to be a year of finding and watching movies that I can miss them first time they were coming around, but then I'm kind of watching them years after they've come out, and I'm discovering some hidden gems. It happened with Inside Out, it happened with Wreck-It Ralph, and it's happened with my latest one, my latest discovery. Now, after the release of Frozen, everyone's eyes were on Disney to see what the next big movie would be, what their next kind of thing would be that would blow everyone away. And surprisingly enough, it's the one I've reviewed this week, and yeah, I say it's surprising, but you know what? It is a gem, and that was Zootropolis. Now, before I get into this, I just want to make this clear. Zootropolis is what it's called in my native UK. Supposedly this movie has a load of different kind of titles, which were seemingly down to the fact that the original title for the movie, Zootopia, which was the one used mainly in America, was that the reason why it's different everywhere else is supposedly that a zoo in Denmark owned the legal rights to the name Zootopia and wouldn't license the name to Disney. So supposedly across Europe and other countries across the world it's all different. For example, it's Zootopia in America, Australia, and I believe New Zealand. In Germany it's supposedly called Zoomania, but in my native UK it was released as Zootropolis. But honestly the name isn't important, because I can see why people consider this movie a gem. It really is that good. I mean, at the heart of it all, this is a movie about overcoming adversity and fighting prejudice. Okay, it shows the main character, Judy Hopps, overcoming adversity, but the fact where people tell you can't be a cop, you're not the right person for it, you can't be a cop, and you see her fighting all the way to prove that she could be a cop, to overcome the adversity that people placed before her, and just do things right with every obstacle that came her way. And that's really in kind of the first half of the movie. The second half kind of moves into kind of fighting prejudice, because while there is kind of a villain and a massive conspiracy that is taking place, the second part is really about fighting prejudice as kind of people start to see the kind of predators or predatory animals in Zootropolis and kind of start to fear them more, and kind of Judy has to kind of fight to make things right and fix her mistakes that ultimately caused this. I mean, the cast in this movie is just, it's a great cast. It includes Jennifer Goodwin, Jason Bateman, Idris Elba, J.K. Simmons. They even managed to slip Alan Tudyk in there with a clever reference to Frozen with his character of Weaselton. yeah, you know what? That's fun. The one thing I will say that I don't know if I consider it a criticism. If you get the joke, great. If you don't, fair enough. Like the nostalgia critic said with Garfield 2, actually, would they assume people who are watching Garfield 2 have seen Silence of the Lambs? I question the same thing about Zootropolis of why do they assume people who are going to see Zootropolis have seen The Godfather? Because there is, not spoil too much, but there is kind of a reference to The Godfather in there that, I'll admit, if you get the joke, it's kind of quite funny. I'm just thinking, if you don't, well, it seems to be an odd thing to slip in there, but you know what, this movie is just chock-a-block with all kinds of references. It's got references to The Godfather, and it's even got references later on to Breaking Bad, which are kind of pretty funny to watch. But ultimately, as I said, it's a charming movie. It is one of Disney's greats, and I'm not going to argue against that. This is just a gem of a movie. It's got some really interesting characters, got some kind of very heartfelt moments, some really funny moments, and a conclusion that I just feel is brilliant. You know what? I love this movie, and if it makes it onto my top 10 list by kind of 2019, I wouldn't be surprised if it did, because, as I said, this was just a gem, and I'm kind of disappointed I didn't look into it sooner. It's just brilliant. I mean, yeah. We'll just have to see what gem I end up picking up next. Till then, see ya.